Hi, I'm Adam.
I'm Zoe.
And I'm Kate.
And welcome to the first episode of Noco Now, where we will be covering all things nature,
travel and entertainment,
and all things food and more. Live from Fort Collins,
it's Noco Now.
Come on.
Fort Collins is inherently a hotspot for outdoor recreation, and just going to this campus puts you so close to many opportunities. Now, backpacking is one of the more accessible forms of outdoor recreation, but it is still important to know how to be safe while executing your backpacking trip. So I'm here to break down a few general guidelines as you plan your first backpacking trip. One of the first things to consider before you even pick a trail is, what is your general ability level? How far can you hike in a given day, and how will the weight of a backpack affect you? Because backpacks can weigh at least 25 pounds, going way up beyond that. Moving on, you're going to want to create your group next. Find friends and ask the question of, how well will we do? And then once you know everyone's group ability is when you can finally start to move on. Now you're at the point where you can start picking your trail. Once you know everyone and what everyone's comfortable with hiking, you can use resources like Code Treks or All Trails to find where you're going. Things to keep in mind when picking a place is, do they require permits? Do those permits cost money? And some things about like where you can and cannot camp. Next, you're gonna create your gear list. While every trip will have different levels of gear and what you'll need, there's a few inherent things you'll always need, such as a sleep system, some sort of way to carry your food, and water filtration. With some of those more basic gear items, they definitely get expensive if you buy them all on their own. But CSU has the outdoor gear rental program where you can check out those basic equipment. I talked to Jordan Rivera about how the outdoor gear rental program helps service students.
The outdoor gear rental program is a place where students can come as long as they have a rec membership, and they can purchase a membership through us in order to rent any gear that they would need for any outdoor trip.
Specifically on the backpacking side, how do you assist students? Is there things you can't provide, or do you have the gear that could help someone complete their trip?
I would say we have the majority of gear that somebody would need to complete a trip. We have the backpack itself, tent, sleeping bags, any cooking equipment. We have basically everything that you would need.
How much does OGR cost, and what does that include?
So in order to rent any gear from us, you do need to buy our pass, our semester pass. So it's lasts the entire semester. It's only a one-time fee. It's around $26 after tax. And with that, you can rent 6 items for 5 days at a time, as many times as you'd like throughout the semester.
The outdoor gear rental program is great, but there are a few things it doesn't provide, such as propane, water filtration. Those are things you should consider, as those are more disposable. One thing to consider is you might want to bring some bear spray. Generally, you won't want to use it, and it should be a last resort. But as long as you know how to use it, it can get you out of a scary situation for sure. But make sure you know how to use all your gear. In the backcountry, you're going to need to plan your meals, and it's not as easy as eating at home. Dehydrated meals are an easy and great option, except they can run up to $10, $15, and that adds up fast. There are ways to keep it cheaper though. You can bring things like oatmeal and ramen. Just make sure you're bringing enough to provide your basic nutritional needs, as you are partaking in a very physical activity. It's important to also carry one emergency meal, just in case you're out longer than you plan to be. At this point, you might be ready. It might be the day before your trip, and there's a few last-minute checks to make. 1, check the weather. Is it going to be storming? Also, take one final look at yourself. Do you feel physically ready and prepared to take on the hike? And it's always okay to postpone if you don't feel ready. On the morning of the start of your trip, do one final gear check. Make sure you have everything you'll need, as you don't want to have to turn around your trip early, or even worse, get stuck in the backcountry. If everything is looking good, it's time to let someone know where you're going. You don't want to go outside, tell no one, and then get lost. Tell someone when you're leaving and when you'll get back, and give them one final time where if you don't check in with them, they'll call someone to get help. This is far from a comprehensive guide on how to do this. The next steps you'll want to take are just plan more, do more research, look at what you need, look at what you want to make your trip successful, and always just seek out extra information. If you're ever unsure, you can always ask the outdoor gear rental desk, or just give it a search. Backpacking is one of the most exciting and fun activities in my opinion, outside, and I highly recommend it to anyone seeking things out. While I was bummed to postpone my trip for weather, it was all worth it in the sake of safety as we had that crazy hailstorm. And instead, I went on a cool barefoot hike.
Hey Rams, I'm sitting here with Claire Stevens, who joined me on the barefoot hike in Young Gulch. Claire, what's the big deal with barefoot hiking? What makes it like the thing?
I started barefoot hiking when I was a small child, and I'd be at like my family's cabin and just kind of running around the mountain just with no shoes on, because shoes are a lot of work. And then eventually I just kind of like started doing hikes barefoot. Well, and I think it definitely like takes practice. Like you have to develop calluses on your foot, so it's not as painful. And I think that's why it's a little easier for me, because I just kind of did it all when I was a child. Eventually, as you like hike more barefoot, your feet get a little more used to it, and it's like not as painful, and it's just an experience.
Yeah, and like on our hike we found an assortment of like berries. Like we found choke cherries, we found currants, and we found some raspberries all on our hike. And as odd as it is, like just being barefoot and picking berries, like it's this strange sensation of like, you know, bringing back the hunter-gatherer in your daily life.
Yeah, bring me back to the hunter-gatherer days.
I think those elements of like being able to forage and adding those incorporations to your barefoot hike really helps you like feel more encompassed by nature.
And it feels like an accomplishment. Your feet might be a little sore after your hike. You can look back and be like, well, look at all the ground that I have covered and all that appreciation I have for it now.
On our trail we saw plenty of poison ivy just littered everywhere. But then also on some of those more popular trails you'll find broken glass from previous hikers, which sucks. You just got to be aware, but because you're looking down at the ground so much, it's so easy to be aware of that stuff. Taking it as far as you feel comfortable, and then having that alternative of the shoe ready when you don't want to do it. Because like in our case, we had a 10-mile hike ahead, but we had storms coming, so we were only 3 miles down the trail, and we just had to turn around, and so we threw our shoes back on.
It definitely takes more time to barefoot hike, because again, you're having to think about where you're stepping, whereas with the shoe, like you don't feel anything, you can just walk as fast as you want.
It's not for everyone, but I think just trying it once, like truly trying it, not walking half a mile and complaining about it, just like embracing it for what it is, like go into it with the most open mind you can, because that's how you're going to benefit from those slowing down moments.
I would say barefoot hiking is just like so grounding, and me as an individual, I love being connected to nature and just getting away from like society as much as possible. Like I want to be self-sustained and just this nature person, and I think barefoot hiking just takes me to that next level without being like too crazy about it. It's just a simple step of just taking off your shoes, but it makes like a huge difference in how I appreciate nature and how I appreciate like the hikes.
Yeah, I mean like even when I go on a shoot hike, I still am now hyper aware of what the trail looks like, and it just like brings this more awareness, because as silly as it sounds, like when you're hiking you're paying attention to everything except the ground. With shoes on, you're not focused on that ground, you're not getting the full 360 experience.
Like when you're just doing your school activities and like living your daily life, it's really easy to just get stuck in that cycle. It's just super freeing, because like that's something that wouldn't necessarily be like seen as okay walking around school barefoot, but when you're in the forest, nobody cares.
Well, thank you for talking to me about barefoot hiking. The experience is wonderful, and I would highly recommend everyone tries it at least once, just because it's such a unique experience, but also it is kind of a strange one that maybe isn't keen to everyone. But that's all for the first Noco Nature of the semester. Stay tuned though, after the break, Zoe Hayman has everything travel and entertainment.
Hey
Stay safe,
Rams, and welcome back to campus. I'm Zoe and I'm one of your hosts for Noco now. Today I thought it would be great to show old and new students around Fort Collins, and right now we're in Oldtown Square. So let's take a look around. Oldtown Square is right in the heart of town, and even though Old Town itself dates back to 1866, the square was built in 1985. If you're new to Fort Collins, I'd recommend visiting for all it has to offer. It's filled with lots of art, bars that serve local beer like Lucky Joe's, Yeti, and Rec Room. If you like shopping, there's some great places to go to.
Another one of my favorite places to go in Fort Collins is the CSU Flower Trial Gardens. The gardens are a great place to study, hang out, meet up with friends, and frankly, walk around and see the flowers. If you want to come see the flowers, then you should hurry up because they're not going to be here all year.
The annual Flower Trial Gardens are located right off of College Avenue and across from the Gregory Alacar Museum of Art. Their mission is to provide education, research, and outreach to students, community members, industry professionals, and anyone else with a desire to learn.
The last place I wanted to bring you guys today is the Holiday Twin Drive-In movie theater. This place is located directly across from the entrance to Horsetooth, and it is so much fun. You could bring your friends, your partner. It's a great way to travel back to the 60s while watching movies like Barbie and Oppenheimer. The drive-in has 2 huge screens that show up to 2 features a night. So if you want to stay for 1 movie, you can. And if you want to stay for 2, you can also do that. There's also a concessions booth that has hamburgers, hot dogs, popcorn, anything a normal movie theater serves, and more. I hope you all enjoyed traveling around Fort Collins to see some of my favorite spots. Now, I know we're heading into our 3rd week of school, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to get slammed with homework. And I was curious how the rest of our student body was feeling. So I asked them.
Kind of difficult, where there's like a lot of like things to manage, you know, like the executive functioning things are hard, but I don't know, not too bad all overall.
It's been great, right? We've made friends.
Yeah, I know, it's been
right?
interesting, yeah, it's been fun.
It's been exhausting though. It's a lot of work, socializing all the time.
Yeah, she has been socializing all the time. It is a lot of work.
And
it's
I
a lot
make
of
you come with.
schoolwork and labs.
I would describe it as very green and lots of movement and just really exciting to be back.
It's like pretty good. I'm out of state, so it's a little weird, but I'd say there's a lot more free time and it's not as like crazy. It's not as like intense school-wise as they say it is. Like, we have so much more time to do all this stuff, so.
I feel like it's overwhelming, but then at the same time it's challenging and really like welcoming, since we had the first week, which was Ram Welcome, and it was really nice.
Yeah, just get involved. The same thing everybody says. Do stuff.
Best advice I would give is to talk to anyone that you see or curious about. So you never know like who is going to be your best friend or who you're going to really connect with.
Really get involved with your professors. So ask them questions, stay on their email list, just talk to with them. They're really looking out for your best interest.
Insomnia cookies.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
Insomnia. I like them, or Fat Shack.
What's your favorite insomnia cookie?
The s'mores one, right?
Yeah.
Probably Horsetooth right now. It's such a cool place to be and there's always people and it's nice to enjoy the hot summer weather.
Probably the Arc thrift store near campus. I find some really good stuff there.
I haven't left campus that much, so I usually just hang out at the roller rink and unicycle.
So Kate, what's your favorite place to go in Fort Collins?
Personally, I love going to Horsetooth and cliff jumping and being outdoors.
I love Horsetooth so much. I was there the other day and I rented a paddleboard and we paddled around the cove and had the best time ever.
Sounds like a great time. I should definitely do that.
You should.
But I also really love the food in Fort Collins, although it can get a little bit pricey.
It can get pricey. Do you have any tips for college students when it comes to not paying for expensive food?
Well, there are a lot of cheap meals that you can make at home.
Welcome to the first CTV Cook segment of this semester. I'm your host, Kate Sherman, and this is my kitchen. As students have been getting back into the swing of college life, they may be wondering what meals they still have time to cook in between their classes. I went out and asked some students what their favorite college meal to cook is.
What is your favorite food to cook in college?
The easiest thing to cook is probably ramen because you just put hot water in it and that's it.
My favorite food to cook in college, probably like miso soup or popcorn. Miso soup or popcorn, nutritious and filling.
Probably ramen at this point. That's all I have access to right now. So
I'd say Nutella strawberries and a croissant or some fries, seasoned fries.
I'd say chicken alfredo, pasta.
We got these like frozen soup dumplings, so I really like those.
Chicken.
Any sort of type?
All sort, every type of chicken. Teriyaki, chicken teriyaki. My favorite food to cook is pasta because it's really easy and I like it. So yeah, French toast.
Are you good at making it?
No.
Okay, cool, great.
Today, we're going to be making the most college classic meal of ramen noodles. First off, we're going to make a very simple version of ramen.
First off, grab your pack of ramen noodles and open them up. Pour them into a bowl. And don't cook the seasoning. Next, add your water. Then just throw that bowl in the microwave for whatever really seems right, or read the packaging. Once it's ready, mix in your seasoning. And there is a perfect, super simple bowl of ramen.
But if you want something a little bit more complicated and that may be a little better tasting, I may have the solution for you. But you do need to be able to boil an egg better than I can.
First, fill yourself up a pot with water because we are already getting fancier than the first ramen. Turn on your stove and start to get your water all heated up. While your water gets heated up, start boiling an egg in it. Cut some green onions to go on top of the ramen. Then, cut some cilantro to go on top of the ramen. As your water gets hotter, beware that your egg still may not be fully done, and it may also roll off the counter. Once your water starts boiling, add in the slightly fancier ramen because it has dried vegetables mixed in already. Get your noodles boiling and add in your second egg to boil at the same time as your noodles. Add in all of the different seasonings that the ramen came with. And get it all boiling and sizzling. Turn off your stove. Pour your ramen into a bowl. And neatly start placing all of your toppings on top. or not so neatly. Don't think that you can throw an egg in a microwave for 10 seconds to make it all the way cooked through. Boiled eggs do explode in the microwave. Third time's the charm. Throw your third egg in a boiling pot and be patient with it. And this egg was perfect. And there you have it, a much fancier ramen, and a much better tasting one too.
And that is all I have for you guys today, but make sure to tune in to the next cook segment.
Kate, that ramen looks so good. It made me so hungry.
Yeah, and that egg is no yolk. Thanks for tuning into the first episode of Noco Now. See you next time.